Welcome everyone to the future of work in Jordan and around the world, which holds many opportunities, challenges, and changes. We are currently living in an era of technology and digitization where even the job market requires a lot of shifting and emphasizing on skill as the foundation of success. To delve further into this topic, we have Dr. Sami الحوراني, CEO of فرصة.com and سوقفن.com. Welcome to Bliss 104.3.
Thank you, Dana. It's my pleasure being with you.
Thank you for taking the time to being with us. I understand it's a very busy schedule. And speaking of which, can you tell us a bit more about the panel that you are participating in, specifically the future of work opportunities and challenges?
Thank you, Khaled. I think this panel is one of the most important panels in the forum today, because today we're talking about the future of work, all the opportunities and the challenges that goes with it. From the high unemployment rate that we have in Jordan that reaches around 50% among young people, which is a very high number. Also, we're talking about some scary global numbers, like, for example, more than 400 actually to 800 million jobs will be lost from the job market in 2030. So we're talking about like 6 years from now. So there are a lot of challenges when it comes to the future of work. How can we adapt? What can be done in order to make sure that we don't lose that much of those jobs or replace it with different ones?
So what I gather from here is that even universities need to change their subjects, their majors. So, for example, my mother studied something way back when. Now her degree is obsolete. Are we facing this challenge right now?
I think we're already seeing it. There are a lot of specialities that is being, I would say, with low demand and sometimes zero demand, and it's going to get worse and worse. However, there will be other specialties that will get more attraction and more attention. AI, things to do with data analysis, with big data management, all those are emerging specialties that will have a lot of traction in the coming years.
Well, I think you just mentioned the big elephant in the room, particularly with regards to the job market, and it is AI. Many people are concerned about job losses, as you mentioned, about job replacement. So, two-part question. How concerned should we be about AI, and what can the youth right now do to sort of mitigate the effects of AI on their future careers?
I mean, what I need to stress on that AI right now is a reality. We're not talking about the future. What's happening is happening right now, and it's getting, the AI is developing really fast. If ChatGPT launched their second version a couple of weeks ago, you're seeing a lot of dramatic changes there. I think when it comes to working with AI right now, we're not talking about like eliminating AI or thinking that AI will vanish. Right now, how can we use AI in our favor? What are the jobs that we can give to AI or delegate to AI and do something different? And here,
cat's out of the bag, as they say.
Whatever you want to say. So I think the stress right now, the challenge is how can we accommodate ourselves, accommodate the universities to work with AI. Today, the battle is not about attracting information or collecting information or memorizing information. It's about how you can take this information to practice. Because, for example, if I want to prepare for the panel that I'm going to be in, it's going to be like a question to AI rather than surfing maybe 50 websites and a couple of books, and it's going to be various. But how can I get those information into action? How can I tailor what I learned from those AI-generated content and take it into practicality? Making something out of it is the challenge, and that's what is not currently in the universities. This is not what our students are being taught to do.
Well, I know that, for example, in schools, new curriculums in schools, they understand that the child has all the information in their hand, but it is what they can do with that information. It's very similar. And just to build on that, how important is it to focus on the entrepreneurship and innovation in the lives of our youth, starting from schools, universities, and then in the work field?
One of the interesting stats that more than 57% of the workers in the US will be freelancers in 2027, something like really soon. That means that people are getting away from the regular traditional jobs. Like, people don't want to be employees in the classical approach that he used to be. They want to become freelancers, but also they want to be, instead of job seekers, job creators, which is entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurship has so much potential, and that moves, and the only way for the Jordanian economy to develop is to have more jobs. And in order to have more jobs, either we need to have mega projects, something like railways between Irbid and Aqaba, or new companies, or attracting foreign investments. So the idea of getting people into the entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial scene is important. However, I want to highlight something that we don't want to make it as a buzz. It doesn't mean, and that's what we're seeing a lot, that people are leaving their jobs, sometimes stable jobs, and they want to establish their own company just for the glory of it. Oh, I'm gonna wear the flip-flops, I'm gonna be the Steve Jobs, you know, I don't have working hours. And reality is, when you are an entrepreneur,
you don't sleep.
I mean, there is no working hours. It is, your whole day is, so I think that's very important. Plus, we need always to remember that the entrepreneurship in general has very high failure rate. Even in best incubators and best locations like Silicon Valley, it does not reach more than 10% success rate. So you're talking about 90%. So with the advantages of entrepreneurship, there are also some risks and disadvantages, but of course this is one of the ways to go in the economy in Jordan.
Well, my question is, as you mentioned, it is a big deal for Jordan specifically. So my question is, can entrepreneurship and innovation, because they tend to go hand in hand, sort of be institutionalized and also be taught?
Sorry. It's about, I'm not gonna lie. So, you know, sometimes if you wanna, you know, you get this reflex. It definitely can be taught. What we need to teach is the concept, is the essence, the basic skills of innovation and entrepreneurship that has to do, for example, with lifelong learning. You cannot be an innovator or an entrepreneur without being able to learn every day and try to, whatever you learn, to practice it and take it to action. So this is one of the things, not to learn for the exam. What we used to be in the, I think we did the same.
Right,
you know, you memorize, you go to the exam.
The traditional way.
Yeah, the tradition.
Yeah.
Now it's no longer the case. You don't need to memorize, but you always need to learn. You always need to attract new skills that you can practice. So this is one of the most important skills of innovation and entrepreneurship that needs to be critical thinking, for example. The idea of read with a question mark, not read to memorize. Read and question what you're reading. Is it right? What can I make out of that? How can I take it to action? What kind of projects I can get from that piece of information that I learned? Those are the essence of entrepreneurial and innovation skills that needs to be taught. Whether you apply it in establishing your new company, or you apply it in being an employee in a big company or a government, what we call it entrepreneurship. Rather than entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur inside an entity or a government, where it's very needed to develop and take those entities to another level.
So you touched on that, but what about, again, I just want to circle back, creativity. Creativity, I feel that a lot of people say, oh, I'm not creative enough. Maybe I'm not creative in my ways, in my thinking, in my attitude. Can that be taught through workshops, maybe in schools? What some advice can you give for anyone that wants to go into that field but feels they don't have that sense of creativity?
Thank you, Dana. I think this is a very important question that got also overused and sometimes abused, the word creativity. I believe that everyone is creative in their own way, and whether some people are more on the artistic, maybe visual, it depends on the themes. However, creativity comes with exposure. The more exposure that you have, the more creative. If you travel, if you meet new people, if you read more, if you maybe watch movies or videos or shorts or podcasts.
Dialogues like this one.
Dialogue.
Yeah.
All the exposure for me is the source of creativity. Creativity does not come, I mean, the idea of being creative is you have an input, you digest it in your brain, you come with an output. If there is no input, what are you going to digest? Sometimes you see a lot of painters or even music composers. You feel that the music that they compose, something similar, it's a mix between several
doesn't come from
songs.
A vacuum.
But it doesn't come from scratch. There's nothing comes from scratch. And I think one of the main sources of creativity is, you know, being on Earth. traveling, seeing various landscapes or architecture or stuff like that. So I think it comes from exposure. How to get exposure is exactly what lifelong learning. Getting out of the box, out of what you do. And today I don't see an excuse of, oh, I can't travel. The internet access is huge. You can access a lot. You can, if you don't read, you can watch videos. If you don't like to watch videos, you can listen to podcasts. You can be exposed in any way.
You can travel online.
And you can do.
You can travel with a headset and
Absolutely.
so you don't actually physically have to get up and go. The technology is
the
just...
VR is going to be something.
Well, Dr. Sami, we know that you have an upcoming panel, so we don't want to take up too much of your time. But I did want to thank you for stopping by. This has been very an enlightening conversation, and we hope that our listeners, or in this case viewers, have also benefited from this.
Thank you, Khaled. Thank you, Dana. That was my pleasure, actually.
Thank you. The pleasure is all ours.
Thank you.
Thank you.